Hi, ladies. It's Johnny here from Manspeak. Monday night, 8:30 p.m. And tonight, of course, is a Manspeak Live interview with a man. Now, like I've indicated the last couple of days on Manspeak group, my guest is by the name of Michael Straker. Now, the background with Michael, as I've let you ladies know, is that Michael is currently in his third marriage, with the previous two marriages. The first marriage ended in separation after 364 days, and the second one was due to, unfortunately, his wife passing away. And now he's been with his current wife, Amanda, for just over 11 years. So I'm definitely really curious to talk to Michael about all those stages in his life and how he dealt with it, and things like that. So for no further introduction, thanks for hopping on tonight, Michael.
Hey mate, how are you?
Yeah, good. So like I've given a bit of background, like I said with the ladies on the Manspeak group. Just introduce yourself and just let us know a little bit about yourself as well.
Okay, I'm Michael Straker. I run a local coffee van. I've been in that for the last 12 months, as of last week. Absolutely loving it. Couldn't have done it without the support of my wife, Amanda. She is absolutely fabulous and I love her. And yeah, I've done a lot of things in the last 12 months that I never would have been able to do without her, as well as in the last 11 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Mick. Yeah, she's an amazing person. I've been lucky enough to meet Amanda personally. She's a very uh, amazing lady. So now let's touch a bit about your background. So the first part I want to try and touch on, go back to your first marriage. Now, you've already told me that the marriage lasted 364 days. How long were you together before you actually got married?
We were together for 5 years. We had our first baby, my eldest daughter, when I was 20. And then we had another son when I was 22. We were basically together. I think it was probably closer to 6 years all up. My first wife had she was diagnosed schizophrenic after the birth of my son, and she spent 3 months in mental health care, getting all sorts of different treatments. After that, she had 2 years on pretty heavy drugs, and then was told then to go off those drugs. That was at the point where we thought, okay, we can get married now, try and support each other and get through all of that. We were both told that within 12 months, if she had actually started to have more psychological problems, that she'd definitely be schizophrenic and would then have to be on drugs for the rest of her life. So we went ahead and got married, and about a month before we actually split up, I woke up one night with a pretty roaring headache, and with her standing over me with a fry pan in hand, that she'd actually hit me over the head with it, and was just about to do it again. So shortly after that, the marriage ended, for obvious reasons.
So what did so when you actually got married at that point, were you hoping, did you have a bit of doubt that wasn't gonna last, or you were both pretty positive about the whole situation?
I think I had a lot of pressure on me as a very young man to do the right thing,
How
by
old were you?
her.
How old was that time, John?
Oh well, I was 20 when
Oh,
I was 20 when my eldest daughter was born.
yeah.
22, and I had two kids, and it was probably I would have been 24. And yeah, two kids. I was trying to look after a full family, and also having all of the hassles that came with my fiance, or my de facto at the time, having pretty major health and mental issues. She'd been abused as a child by her father, and I was getting all of the blame, if you were, for her having the mental issues, even though they were there before I was even involved with her. So, yeah, so it was, yeah, a very steep learning curve for me as a young man at the time.
Yeah, but like you said, at the
Yeah,
time, and like you said, at the time, you thought you were doing the right thing by talking to your kids, trying to get a family going, and like you said, at 22 or 24, that's what you thought was the right thing to do. Is that right?
oh, definitely, yeah, and like my parents were not forcing me to do that, but that's what they expected. And yeah, there are a lot of things that went on that end up alienating my parents, because they had never dealt with anyone with any psychological issues before.
Yeah.
So they just didn't know how to handle it. And yeah, I still don't think they do to this day. It was something that when they grew up, wasn't talked about.
Yeah,
Most people with mental issues were put into like a home and left there.
yeah, it's a shame, but yeah, it does happen. It's strange. It's funny too, because when you look back at um, you know, our parents, whatever, like a divorce wasn't so common, and I mean, don't get divorced, like and then when you went through a divorce yourself, look, I know from my personal experience, like my parents didn't understand what it was all about. Like, what I mean? You're trying to talk to them about divorce, and they've got no idea, and they can't relate to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my parents were pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's very challenging when it comes to divorce these days. So, okay, so then you split up with your wife, and then you had your two kids. Were you the sole care of the kids once that happened, or what happened there?
No, I went through a similar situation that you've gone through, going to court trying to get the children.
Yeah.
In those days, it was 90% to the woman in the relationship. So the family court was very, very on the woman's side, and there was no discrimination for any health issues, including psychological issues. So that was never going to be a defence for me, to be able to get the children. My parents were pushing me to get that, go through court and get the kids, and then basically give up work and look after them as a sole parent. I remember a conversation with my solicitor at the time, and he said, if this is known by your ex, if it's known by anyone on her side, the judge will look at you and go, you are much better being able to work and support these children yourself, without having them, than actually have them and then going on to a single parent pension. So my lawyer basically said to me, yeah, if they find out about this, then you got no chance. So my best bet from that moment on was to basically give her the kids and try and set some boundaries, which, by the way, were never adhered to. But yeah, it was a pretty tough time. She ended up moving to from here to Sydney, and then she moved to Brisbane, where my kids spent most of their life. So I only saw them in the holidays. I paid child support all the time. I remember my second wife, Julie, when my eldest, Amy, who is now Andy, that's another story for another time. When Amy was probably about 15 or 16, she came down and she said, "Oh, Mum told us that Dad's never paid a cent of child support." And Julie said, "You come with me," and showed her a folder that was like 4 inches thick with all of the child support agency at the time, all their paperwork, what money I'd actually had paid, how much I'd paid, how much I was behind, so that she knew exactly what situation we were in, that I had paid child support. And those two kids never got a benefit of any of that money. My first wife used to go to Hayman Island for Christmas with her mum for the 4 weeks that out of the 6 that I had them for.
Wow.
I only found that out once the kids went back there.
Wow, how
and
challenging.
confronted her with it. Yeah.
Cool. That would be
So,
challenging.
yeah, so things have changed a little.
Slightly. Okay, so then your first year ended. What was the gap between your first wife and your second wife?
Probably wasn't all that long, really. I'm probably a habitual married man, I suppose. We split up in the December '94, and my second wife and I got together in about June and July '95, so about 6 months, I'd say.
Okay. And like we've already shared, like with the ladies in the group, that she passed away. So how long were you guys actually married for until she passed away?
Okay, yeah, we got married in 1999, and she passed away in 2005. So we were married for 6 years nearly.
Yep. And just, I know you've shared this with me, and I do appreciate it a lot. So just share with the ladies on the group actually what actually happened with your second wife.
Okay, yeah. Well, in 2001, Julie, actually, we were playing around, and I felt a lump in her breast, and I said, "Oh, you better get that checked out." And it was only a small lump. So she went to the doctors. The doctor checked her breasts. This was out without mammograms at this stage, and he couldn't find it. And she said, "Right, Michael, you find it." And I put my finger straight onto it. So she had a lumpectomy. She had that removed. She went through chemo and radiation. And by the end of 2001, she'd sort of gone through all of that, the process in those days for treating the breast cancer. By mid-2002, she was pretty much cancer-free. And then at the end of 2005, the end of 2004, these headaches are getting worse and worse and worse. and I'm pretty sure it was the 15th of January 2005 that finally got to the point where she couldn't control them with any of her normal medications, Panadols or anything like that. So we went to Maitland Hospital, and all they said was the cancer's back and it's in your brain. That's all we got. And yeah, from that point on, it was pretty fast. So she was diagnosed in January 2005, and she died in May 2005 after having a little bit of radiation, but that's about all they could do.
Yeah. Did you have any kids at all, or?
Yeah, so I've got two girls with Julie. Chelsea is my youngest. She's 17 today, but at the time she turned 5 4 days after her mum died.
Wow.
So it's a very it was a very interesting time for me, but it was devastating for her and devastating for Olivia, my other daughter with Julie as well. And she was 3 years older, so what's that, 8? Yeah. So of course, they're extremely close, those two girls. Unfortunately, over the years, Julie's side of the family haven't really been as involved with the kids as I would have liked and they would have liked. I'm not going into that here. They've never not been welcome in their house. They may have been a little bit upset with me once Amanda and I got together, thinking that it wasn't long enough between the death of Julie and me getting together with Amanda, even though it was over a year. Yeah,
how did you, just going back, when the passing happened, how did you deal with it? Now you were like basically a single dad and you had 2 kids, because this time around it was different. Like the kids weren't taken away from you, so you had the kids with you 100%. So how was that? How was coping with that?
Yeah, I moved in with Julie's mum because at the time my father-in-law Stuart, he actually passed away in March amid all of this cancer that Julie was going through as well. He basically said that he wasn't going to outlive his daughter. So he actually had a heart attack and died on my birthday in March. And then Julie went downhill from there. So I actually moved into their shed. I lost my house because I hadn't been working. I'd given up work to look after her. I had her at home in a hospital bed next to our bed for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for about a month and a half, I suppose, until she got to the point where I was given her medications and all that sort of stuff. She couldn't keep medications down, so anything I was doing wasn't helping. Like all of the medications that she was supposed to be on, she couldn't keep them down, so she ended up going into palliative care. Once she passed, I had great support from both sides of my family and her family. Her mum, Jan, absolutely fabulous lady, and she's the one person who is still involved with the girls. She's actually married herself again and moved to southern New South Wales, so she's moved away, but she still comes and sees the girls whenever she's up here. So she's really good. Her support was really great, but I had a lot of people sort of saying, well, okay, your life is now looking after these girls, and which I was quite happy to do. I felt that was my complete and utter responsibility, was to look after my girls and make sure that they healed enough to maintain their own life and have a decent life after losing their mum at such a young age, which I'm really proud that they do that. Chelsea has always been a very unique girl, our youngest. She is the most unique girl you have ever met. Yeah. She makes me smile, and she makes me laugh, and she makes me cry. Yeah, and every emotion is straight on her sleeve. And I think that's got a lot to do with losing her mum at an early age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But she's absolutely fabulous. My middle daughter, Olivia, she's currently doing textile and design at TAFE and working as well full time. She's 21 next year. So she's 20, coming up to 20. She's very mature. Both girls are very mature for their age, which I suppose is going to happen being brought up by a man. But they're great. They're fantastic girls. And the best thing I could have ever done for them was what I did, was marry Amanda, because Amanda has been the best wife and the best mother to my girls, apart from their own mum, that I could have ever possibly have asked for.
Okay, well let's touch on Amanda now. So, so what was the gap now between when your wife passed and Amanda?
Okay, so my wife passed away in May 2005, and Amanda and I started seeing each other in June 2006. I'd met her at school. Amanda has Rip, who's the same age as Olivia, and went in the same class as Olivia. And Lucy, who is the same age as Chelsea and was in the same classes as Chelsea at school. So we were seeing each other, chatting when we were picking up the kids. Nothing really eventuated until Amanda's birthday on the 14th of June. She actually invited me out to lunch with her girlfriends and for her birthday. And when I got there, all of her friends had sort of filled the rest of the table, and the only spot left for me was right next to Amanda. So that day we had a few Guinness, which I found out that was the first commonality between us. We both like our Guinness. And a couple of days later, because we'd been talking, and she actually had a CD set of the Beatles. Amanda's a huge Beatles fan, and she had the full set that she'd been given for her 21st birthday. Now, the box that it came in had fallen apart due to being left out in the weather, not by her. And I'd actually said to her, look, I can make you a new CD box out of proper timber that's going to last a lot longer than that, because this was just made out of chipboard and paper and stuff. So on the Friday, on the 16th of June, we actually spent the whole day together. As soon as we dropped the kids off, we went out and we were looking for fixtures and paints and stains and all that sort of stuff for this CD box, which I made out of an old table. Recycled some timber and made it out of an old table. That was once we actually got together, but we spent the day all together. And I think, yeah, that night, she keeps telling me all the time it was the worst meal I ever prepared her. The only thing I had in the fridge was the old packet. I think it was like curried rice or something like that, like a frozen dinner,
Yeah.
a microwave dinner. Yeah, that was the funniest thing. So she bought a 6-pack of Guinness, and I bought a frozen dinner.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was our first night, first day together.
Wow. So when did you actually then start to realize that you wanted to be with Amanda? Like after that?
Yeah, well, I think it all happened extremely quickly. Like, this was Friday afternoon, we got together. Sunday morning, Amanda had actually stayed the night on Saturday night after we went out to, we took all of our kids, her kids and my kids, to 10-pin bowling, and she'd stayed the night, and got up in the morning, and we were having coffee out the front, and my mum and dad pulled up. And so she actually met my mum and dad like after 2 days, which didn't freak her out at all. Her and mum clicked straight away, which I thought was fantastic, because yeah, my first wife and my mum never got on. My second wife and my mum sort of got on, but Amanda and mum just clicked straight away. It was as though, yeah, they were meant to be together. So that was the first sign for me. And then, yeah, after 11 days after we got together, I just said to Amanda, I think we're really, like, we'd spent every moment together, every moment. And said, I'm not getting any younger. How about we just go over to Fiji, get married? Because I knew Amanda didn't want a big wedding or anything like that, because we discussed it.
Yeah.
And that was my proposal.
Wow. So 11 days. 11 days for me and Amanda. That's when you put that into your
Yeah. 11 days, and then we were, officially, to us, we were engaged on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
And then we were married on the 10th of August in Fiji, and come back and told everyone.
And how did everybody take it?
A lot of people, my mum, her mum. There was one person who knew, which was her best friend, Laura. She knew that we were going over to get married, but no one else did officially. They all said, oh, yeah, we knew, we thought you'd be going over there to get married and come back. But everyone accepted it, except for a couple of friends who said, oh, you should never have done this. You haven't known each other long enough. It won't last a year. So, sorry.
So what were some of the things that came up for those people? What were some of the comments they were making? Why I know you've shared this with me offline, but what were some of the things that they were saying to Amanda at the time when you two were?
Yeah, they were saying that, you shouldn't get involved with Michael. He's still grieving for his wife. It's only been a year. All of the typical stuff that you hear people saying in the movies, I suppose.
How'd that make you feel when you heard that being said to her?
What was that? Sorry?
How'd that make you feel when you heard that being said to her?
Oh, it just gave me more determination for us to work. I really didn't care what other people said. Really felt so natural with Amanda that, it didn't really worry me what other people thought.
Yeah, you kind of knew it away.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
I've never felt more comfortable with another human being.
yeah, that's awesome. That is, I tell you, and I know how both you guys are. I think it's awesome that you like that. Now, then you had the challenging part where all of a sudden now Amanda had kids and you had kids. So just so everyone know, how many kids did Amanda have and how many kids did you have coming in as one family?
Okay. Yeah, well, I had, my second wife also had 2 children as well. They were basically the same ages as my 2 older children. But after their mum died, they basically went to their dad, who had been estranged from them a little bit by my presence, I suppose, over the previous few years. But they sort of gravitated towards him, which I can't blame them from that. There are a few things that went on, but yeah, that's all water under the bridge.
Yeah. So when you both decided to again after get married, move in together, how many kids came together under the one roof?
Oh, well, we had 4 altogether.
Yeah.
So I had my 2 girls, and then Amanda had Rip and Lucy. There were a few challenges there, but we both decided from the first moment that if we were going to make it work, we had to treat everyone the same. So everyone was treated as our children. There was no special things, and there's bumps in the road, and there's little things that happened along the way that you think, how could we have handled this a bit better? But we handled it the best we could at the time. Like Olivia and Lucy clashed a lot to start with. They fought like sisters, and they still do, but they absolutely love each other. They love each other like sisters. I suppose there's always going to be the bond between my 2 girls and Rip and Lucy that our 4 children together don't necessarily have, but they don't necessarily need it because they've actually formed a new bond together. They've got siblings that, even though they're not blood relatives, they're closer because they're actually friends as well.
You guys been married for 11 years as well, so you know what I mean. They've known each other for
definitely, yeah.
So what advice would you give to I suppose the ladies out there who are looking to, if they've met a guy or they're going to be about to merge into a family with the man with having kids as well, from your experience of 11 years, what is some of the advice you can give on that?
I think it's all about respect. You've got to respect what your partner wants to start with.
Yeah.
But you've got to, if you're bringing kids in, you love those children as much as you love your own. And don't, as hard as it sometimes can be, don't favour one over the other. I've found over the years that my girls have been in the wrong, and they've been blaming Lucy, mainly Lucy, not so much Rip, but I just couldn't take one over the other. I had to make sure that, okay, I hear both sides of this story and work out which way is which. And like all little kids lie at times when they've done something wrong. Just because this one's yours and this one's his, or vice versa, you can't say yours is right and his is wrong. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be the judge and say, give me both facts, give me all the facts.
Yeah. One decision.
Take that. This is my child, and I'll look after my child until the end of the earth. Don't forget it, but apply it to the other child as well.
Yeah, good tip, Nick. Honestly, very, very good tip.
That's the only way to do it, I've found.
And how did you, Amanda, communicate with her? Like, look, you guys seem to be definitely on the same wavelength with each other, but was it something that you constantly had to talk to each other about to reassure, to both make sure that you're doing the right thing for both kids?
Definitely, yeah.
Did at any time, did at any time that kind of affect your relationship, or the communication was there all the time?
The one thing that I said to all our kids from the start, which I got from losing a wife, was that these kids will be gone in 10 or 12 or whatever, how many years' time, and Amanda and I will be here together. So she is always going to be my number one priority. You kids, I love you to death. I'll do anything for you, but Amanda is my number one priority, because if she's not happy, none of us are. That was the biggest thing for us. And I've said that over and over and over to all of the kids all the way through from day one. And she did the same thing for me. We respect each other. We treat each other as our number ones, and then our children are a very close second.
Yeah, wow.
And that was the only way to really be able to deal with
it all.
Deal with it all, yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a bit. So, what made? I suppose you've been married 3 times. Obviously, the man is the one you've been married to the longest. So what made? What was a couple of things that you knew in that 11 days that you thought? I know you shared it with it, that meeting the mum and little things, but what made Amanda so different, I suppose, than any other woman that you met? What was a couple of things that made you propose in that 11 days?
It was just the ease at which we communicated. And she's the only person I've ever missed. I used to go away to work and all that sort of stuff. And yes, I would miss my wife. But I would miss Amanda if she'd go down the shop. That was the first thing. And you haven't got long enough to tell you. Really, there's just so many things. Just so just so many things about her that just make me feel special. She respects me. Like we no longer spend every minute together. We both work, but we spend every minute we can together. We've been, like, I go away for 4 days a year. I go away golfing with my mates. Amanda will go for a weekend away with her girlfriends. There's a level of trust that we've built up that I've never experienced before. That was built up in those 11 days at the start.
That's amazing.
Gives
that indication too, Nick, doesn't it? There's no rule book, is there? There's no rule book to say out there, like, there's no relationship for dumb. This is the amount of days that you should be with someone for year or weeks or years or months before you should actually be with somebody, because you had that gut feeling by the sound of that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think, if you know something, if you know that person's the person, go for it. It doesn't matter if it was you'd met yesterday.
Yeah. Now, I want you to share this with you, because this is one of my favourite parts of you two guys. So just to let the ladies know, you said this at the start, the last 12 months have been a big change for you two guys. So let the ladies know what's happened with you so far with you two.
What was that? Sorry, you cut out again.
Let the ladies know, like you said before, so much has happened in the last 12 months with you two guys.
Yeah.
Share with the ladies what's probably happened in the last, say, since the start of the year.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was in a job that I wasn't really happy in, and I basically was talking to Peter, who was the local coffee man. He invited me to actually join him to buy into his company. Amanda and I sat down, had a chat, and said, "What's the worst thing that could happen?" And basically, the worst thing that could happen was we lose the money that I put up to go into the coffee business, and I go back to work and pay it off. And we thought, well, I'm working in a dead-end job now. What's the difference? And I've given myself a chance to do something in my life that I've been wanting to do all of my life. And she was the first person to say, yes, go for it. So 7th of September last year, we got our second van after I bought into the business. At that stage, I was probably about 125 kilos. I'm only estimating because we both didn't believe in having scales in the house, and we still don't. I was drinking and smoking. I was drinking probably between 2 and 4 litres of Coke or Diet Coke a day. My joints were buggered. I couldn't hardly move. And I was walking into a business where I need to be on my feet all the time, and I can't smoke at all. So I gave up smoking cold turkey. I use the spray if anyone wants to give up smoking. I used the nicotine spray about 4 times in about a month. And that was the only support I had. So over the first few months up to Christmas, I'd lost a few kilos and then started to put it back on. And I thought after Christmas, nah, it's time that I really looked after myself, because I want to be around for a bit longer. I'm 5 years older than Amanda, and she reminds me about it every birthday.
Oh, classic.
Yes, I'm closer to 50, and she's closer to 40. Yeah. It's a funny thing that we go through all the time. But yeah, I was talking to Steve up at Genesis Fitness. I'll give him the plug because he's a great fella, who used to come out and grab a coffee off me all the time. And I said to him, look, what's it going to take me to join this gym? I've never been in a gym in my life. And he put me on to one of the young ladies in there who signed me up, put me on to this other fella I'm looking at now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, since then I've lost up till today, I think, about nearly 23 kilos with you, John.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Yeah. And about 3 months ago, Amanda's mum had a fairly bad health scare. And Amanda's mum has diabetes, she has bad knees, she's overweight, and she is going down the same track as her mum and her mum before her. And Amanda said, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in that situation as well. And I said to her, well, if you want, I'll give you all the support you need. You've seen me lose a lot of weight. and improve my health, improve my fitness. Do you want to do something like that? And it's totally up to you. And to her great credit, she's already lost nearly 10 kilos, and she's just now starting to feel the benefits of it. Just starting to get all of the old clothes and all that sort of stuff that she couldn't get into. She's now being able to fit into them again. And if you should have been here last night, we had woohoos going all over the place. Every time she put on a dress that she could try on, and she actually was either fitting into or it was loose. And it was the most wonderful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's awesome. I suppose the reason why I like to share this story, what I find about it, from a relationship side of it, is the amount of support you two guys have given each other, not over 11 years, but definitely the last 12 months. And I think I'm lucky enough to see that, each week, and I think it's amazing. I think the support you two guys give each other, after what you two both have been through in your own lives separately, to come together and do it is very inspirational. I think you two have inspired a lot of other people. It just goes to show, you know what I mean? Like you said tonight, that you don't have to. It's just about knowing each other, communicating with each other. I think the biggest word that you use, I think it's awesome, is that you actually respect each other. And I think having that respect is a big thing, in the day, because with that respect, you kind of appreciate each other as well. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I actually thought of a great response to that, because I knew that question or that comment was coming up. And I was going to say, yeah, she doesn't finish my sentences, she exclaims them. He puts that point on the end and says, yes.
Yes.
That's what she does. She's
amazing.
And hopefully you do the same thing for her.
Yeah. And it's about hard for me to explain this to the ladies on live chat tonight, and if they watch it later on. But when you see these two guys together, the way Mick talks about Amanda is 100%. So it's and yeah, again, I'm lucky enough to have met these two guys, and they're amazing. But there's a lot, watch for this space, because bigger things are going to happen for them both. So, look, Mick, I have to thank you for hopping on tonight. I really, really appreciate it a lot, that you opened up and you shared your background, where you've been, the challenges that you had as a husband, as a father, and you come out the other side, and I suppose hopefully a few things that you've taken out tonight, the ladies can relate to, or might help them with future relationships. But I definitely appreciate you being open and actually giving up your time tonight.
Thanks, mate. Not a problem at all.
You're a legend, as always. So, just so you know, ladies, if you're not watching this tonight, and you do actually watch this later on, and you do have a few questions, or there's something that you want to know, don't be afraid to put it in the comments below, or private message me. I do see Mick regularly, so I can definitely talk to him about any questions. But again, I hope for the ladies on the group tonight who are watching this live, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Mick tonight. I know I did. He's an awesome guy, and just watch out for this space and take care. But I suppose from Johnny and Mick, take care and have a great night. Thanks again, Mick.
Thanks, mate.
No worries, buddy. See you, mate.
See you, mate.